A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Sasha Ong, and I'm your host for today. Welcome to the Close Any Gaps in Your Cyber Defense Strategy webinar. Today, we are pleased to have Mr. Dutch Ng, Chairman of SG Tech Cybersecurity Chapter, to deliver the welcome address. Subsequently, we will have Mr. Alvin Rodriguez, Field Chief Security Officer of Infoblox APAC, to share with us the strategies which companies can undertake to strengthen their cyber defense. After his sharing, Mr. Max Chua, Solution Architect of Infoblox, will demonstrate to us how their solution can prevent data exfiltration over domain name system DNS traffic. Lastly, Mr. Dutch Ng will moderate a panel discussion with Mr. Alvin Rodriguez and Mr. Max Chua. They will discuss how companies can use DNS foundation data to protect them from data exfiltration and other advanced cyber threats and improve the ROI of their existing security stacks. A gentle reminder, please feel free to comment in the Q&A box below. We will address the Q&A during the panel discussion. Also, there will be a poll during the webinar, and there are $20 Movement e-gift cards to be won by the first 50 respondents. If you are interested to win the e-gift cards, we strongly encourage you to respond to the poll. Please also take note that you will be giving consent for Infoblox to reach out to you after the webinar should you choose to respond to the poll questions. We will share your contact details with Infoblox after this webinar. Without further ado, I would like to begin the webinar by inviting Mr. Dutch Ng to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Ng, please.
Thank you, Shasha. Hope everybody have a good evening or good afternoon. Welcome, good afternoon. It's great to see you all, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to learn more about the Close Any Gap in your cyber defense strategy. I'm Dutch, the chairman of SG Tech Cybersecurity Chapter. My full-time role is a CEO and co-founder of iScreen Innovation. More businesses are shifting from the business applications and data storage from on-premises to cloud. It is on-prem or on-cloud, a company should always ensure the hygiene of cybersecurity protection in place. Today, presentation is about recognizing and understanding the clarity of securing your DNS channel to establish a more thorough defense in-depth approach for your organization. Furthermore, the speaker will cover the importance of using DNS information and recognizing different threat intelligence sources to improve your overall security posture and lower your cyber risk exposure. A live demo will be presented as well. So to our old friends and existing members of EduTech, it's nice to have you with us again. To our new friends, I'm familiar with EduTech. Let me give you a brief introduction. EduTech is a premium trade association set up to represent and champion the interests of the tech industry in Singapore. Within rapid evolving technology landscape, EduTech strive to create an ecosystem that anticipates trends and develop sustainable initiatives to strengthen and grow the industry. Currently, we have more than 900 members ranging innovative startups, vibrant small and medium-sized enterprises to top NMCs, whom we are representing and articulating any technology industry concern to relevant authorities and stakeholders. EduTech strives to create an ecosystem that to strengthen the community and help the ICT industry to grow. EduTech serves as an active voice for the tech industry by actively and responsibly advocating for change while remaining a trusted and respected partner of the government. We contribute to tech industry growth and transformation through national programs and initiatives that drive and enhance the Singapore economy. There are three key main roles that what we do: a business enabler, as a neutral platform and aggregator for the tech industry. We have various platforms that create opportunities for our members. A responsible voice, we run sessions and various government industry to provide feedbacks and give suggestions on how we're going to help the industry. As for industry insight, we provide knowledge and intel on updates and news so that members will be more aware of the rapid changes that they can adapt it quickly. To coordinate the needs of subsector within the ICT space, we have formed industry chapters and committees to help to support strategic and emerging sector. We have classified our chapters into tech verticals and non-tech horizontal. Under the tech verticals, we have AI and high-performance computing chapter, cloud and data, cybersecurity, which is this chapter. And for non-tech horizontal, we have digital transformation chapter, Singapore enterprise, and smart nation chapter. Companies that join EduTech as a member can choose which chapter they prefer to be involved in. Each chapter will plan activities, initiative to engage the chapter member and the industry. Not only chapter, EduTech also spin off committees that cater to emerging industrial needs. For example, 123 Startup Committee caters to young startup companies. Gaming and education technology are gaining traction. We have also formed these two committees to create the needs. Other committees are blockchain, data center, data protection, digital trust, government procurement, SME Go Digital, sustainability, and talent and capability committee. New chapters and committee will be launched in response to the technology industry, continue to grow and their needs. If you need to know more about EduTech, please write to our EduTech Secretariat at membership@edutech.org.sg. I repeat, membership@edutech.org.sg. I also like to thank our partner, Infoblock, SBF, Singapore Business Federation, MATO, Manufacturing Alliance Transformation Towards Industrial 4.0, and SMF, Singapore Manufacturing Federation, for supporting this webinar. I hope that you'll find this information useful for your organization. I wish you a fruitful webinar ahead. Thank you. And over to you, Shasha.
Thank you, Daj, for delivering the welcome address. Next, I would like to invite Alvin to share with us the strategies which companies can undertake to strengthen their cyber defense.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Trust that you can hear me clearly. Okay, so in my session today, I'll be talking about, how do you close the potential gaps in your cyber defense strategy? And here I'm referring to more your defense in-depth strategy, because more often than not, it is an area that is much overlooked by many organizations, whereby they only focus on specific areas of their current defense in-depth strategy. I know defense in-depth is sounds like a little bit outdated, but do bear with me, because what I will try to bring to it is some new light and some new relevance to it. Okay, so my session today, what I'll do is that I'll cover the prevailing market situation, what's happening in the marketplace, right? And then after that, to just share with everybody exactly where is DNS position and where is Infoblock's position to help you drive this value for your organization. And once we understand the positioning of this, then it's easier for us to talk about what is the Infoblock's value proposition to you in your cyber defense strategy. So in view that this is only going to be a 20 minutes presentation, I have a very tight and condensed version of what I would normally have put together, which would normally run for an hour. But one of the key things that we see much in the papers and much in the press and everything, the whole focus around digital transformation. Now, the thing is that digital transformation forces us to relook at the way we are doing existing processes, to integrate technology into it, and to look at, number one, how to drive existing products into new markets or new products into existing markets. Whatever the case is, it drives that new opportunity for us to look at new ways of bringing value to our customers. But having said that, digital transformation generally takes a while to embrace, takes a while for us to drive this agenda across. And with digital transformation, most companies are looking at it from an external perspective, whereby they're looking at transforming the touch points for customers so that they can deliver that value to the customers. what we need to do to succeed in that is to harmonize both internal and external transformation so that the whole organization is able to drive this agenda for the customers. As a result of that, what happens is that you have a change in the way your business runs. And at Infoblox, what we recognize is when your business changes, right, so do the other elements that supports the business. So this is a simple diagram to illustrate the symbiotic relationship between the business, the digital footprint, and the digital footprint here refers to, oh, I'm not showing my slides. I beg your pardon. Thank you for informing me. I beg your pardon. Is the business, the symbiotic relationship between the business, the digital footprint, and cybersecurity. How all these three elements hang together and how do they actually relate with one another when driving your business. Now, suppose right now you have decided to embrace cloud as part of your transformation. So the way that you would then look at how do you defend, how do you manage your infrastructure supporting cloud will also pivot. So your company now embrace cloud, you go into hybrid, maybe now your new business model is here, but your infrastructure that supports it changes as well, because now you have not just on-prem, but also cloud, and maybe you decide to expand to the edge as well because of COVID, right? So as a result of that, cybersecurity cannot remain just focused on protecting your on-premise strategy. Cybersecurity also needs to pivot as a result of that to a new paradigm. So the thing is that you need to focus on the interplay between all the different elements working in concert to drive that security strategy, to drive that visibility for your business. And as we become more and more connected, what we realize is that your network inevitably becomes your business. Name one organization today out there in the marketplace that is no longer dependent, that is not dependent, I beg your pardon, on the network to drive its business. Digital transformation, and right now, especially with COVID, forcing us to accelerate the way we have transformed our business, right, has forced us to relook and has forced us to digitize everything that we do. We transact digitally, we interact digitally, we engage with customers digitally. This platform, for example, if it weren't for COVID, would be done in a physical environment. But because of COVID, now we have all embraced, virtual meetings and virtual communications and even virtual presentations like this. And we are trying to make the best of this by making this as interactive as possible. So your network becomes that platform, that foundation for your business. But having described that, if you think about it, what is the most common baseline denominator across all your network? Your DNS. Your DNS is the thing that holds the entire network together. And the DNS is your first point of contact. So inevitably, the DNS can also be your first point of detection and protection for your organization. Now, having described all of that, now that you're thinking about your network holistically, what happens then? Do you have visibility across on-prem, on cloud, and at the edge? No. You need to look at how do you drive unified visibility so that you can achieve unified security across this entire platform. What you used to have on-prem, which is absolute control, not fragmented control, right? Absolute visibility, not fragmented visibility, and absolute security to drive and protect your business. In addition, you need to look at the elements that also contribute towards manageability and compliance, which is something that a lot of organizations are very concerned about. So that at the end of the day, what you need to have and what you need to drive towards is a risk-managed business-aligned strategy that hones in your two foundational aspects, which is your platform and your security, to be aligned to the business so that when your business changes, you can change with the business. In this day and age, what's happening right now? Microsoft has announced this. A couple of other multinational corporates have announced this. And that is work from home or work from anywhere is here to stay. Now, work from home or remote work is not a new thing. The thing that is new is the volume of people that's working from home or working from anywhere. So this will persist, right? You will then start looking at, as they work from anywhere, offloading more of your workloads onto the cloud. So SaaS becomes a prevailing and important factor. And with the rise of smart devices and also proliferation of IPv6, IoT starts to become present everywhere, especially with right now embracing autonomous driving, smart building, smart nation. everything, all the different kinds of information that we can capture through IoT sensors is now being put out there with a connectivity. You do not want this to become the back door or to become the shadow IT that allows a malware attack or allows a cyber criminal to infiltrate into your organization. And this is what I mean when I say you need that unified visibility so that you can see everything that's happening across this entire platform for you to manage and secure this environment. Because when you think about it, what are your top concerns right now? Well, it basically is, the whole notion about the existing perimeter has been completely dissolved. We are now living in a borderless environment. And as we embrace more and more connectivity with even greater connection in an ecosystem, in a supply chain, in an extended ecosystem, your attack surface has also enlarged. And what that means for many organizations is a discomfort with the amount of ways that you can come in and out of the organization. So infiltration and exfiltration can take place very readily and very easily if you don't have holistic visibility, if you're blindsided by certain things. In addition, the thing that contributes to you being blindsided is increased operational complexity. In the past, when you used to apply for a leave, all you need to do is just fill up a form, fill up the form requesting for that leave and pass it to your manager. Now we have a SaaS system to help you drive that. And as a result, that increases the level of complexity and the different kinds of services that needs to support that simple process. But the benefit is that you can do that anywhere, anytime. You don't need to be in the office. You can do that when you're away. You can do that in the middle of the night when you're at home. And when you're at home, you then work on edge devices. You work on, both connected to the machine. So the enlarged operating perimeter. So at this point, I want to just do a quick poll to get your feedback about what are your thoughts around what are the different ways of getting into and out of your organization. Don't be shy. Keep it coming. Sasha, how many people do we have in this session?
128.
128. Okay, we are over the 50% mark already. Keep it coming. Very interesting insights I'm getting. The vast majority of you are on the mark. Nice, interesting. I bet 93 people have already given your answers, has cast you a lot. I'll give it to 100 before I close the poll. Can I have 7 more, please? Come on, guys. Okay, it seems we stuck at 93. Anybody else want to add anything else who has not polled? Okay, 94. Going once? Going twice? Okay, can we close the poll and show the results? Okay, so as you can see, the vast majority of you actually said all of the above. And some of you believe that, infiltration, exfiltration takes place just through emails, whereas some, and thank you very much if you highlighted DNS traffic. Well, the honest answer is correct. It's all of the above. And those of you who said that, kudos and well done to you. It is all of the above, right? So in this session, right, I will be focusing on how attacks come through the DNS. In my past life and everything, I've always spoken to customers about, how attacks come through email and websites, whereby email is all about spam to get credentials and so on and so forth. Websites about watering hole, lookalike domains and the likes of those. My previous live, we spoke in a great deal about Insider, about how they can actually circumvent the whole social media, sorry, I beg your pardon, the entire social engineering exercise to get credentials to get into the organization, or malicious insiders can be a source of exfiltration. It's interesting that only one person believed that accidental and malicious insider can be a cause of entry and exit into the organization. So with that, right, let me now quickly position, right, the role of DNS in the light of the entire cybersecurity stack. So when you look at this diagram, right, and it's basically the evolution of the threat landscape of both attackers and responders, the cat and mouse game. And what happened over here is that you have worms. When worms first came about, we have a countermeasure against that, and that is all about the antivirus. And then when we have rootkits and spyware, we have intrusion protection systems, or IDS, or even the firewall. And then when we have APTs, we have sandbox and next generation firewall coming out. So the whole notion, then the whole thing I'm trying to drive at, the picture over here, is that for every threat, there is an equal and opposite response that we have given to the market. Now, I want you to pay attention to this DNS exploitation. And sometime between 2010 to today, right, it really becomes red, somewhere here. Maybe this is 2015 or so. And I have another poll question to ask you over here. What do you think is a significant threat vector that actually impacted this, that actually drove this DNS exploitation? Looks like the very same answer is all of the above. It's not quite that, okay? I'm just giving you a hint to the remaining 30 plus people who will be voting. Oh, it's interesting how the answer starts to shift right now. You know, you can see the bars just going up and going down the other way. I just want you to think, what was something that's significant that happened in 2015 that really rattled the cybersecurity industry, that forced us to pivot and forced us to really look at, you know, data protection and disruption management and so on and so forth. Just about the same number of voters. Oh no, I got more voters now. Okay. Okay, at 97, just now it was 94. 97 going once, going twice, 98. Very good. Do I get a 99 or do I get a perfect 100? Do I get a perfect score? Okay, 98 going once, 98 going twice. Let's close the poll and share the views with the audience. Okay, now it's interesting that about 53% of you believed it was all of them. Now, yes, insider threat became significant. Hacktivism came about as well, but it wasn't in the 2015 timeframe. Hacktivism actually came about sometime in 2012, right? The whole notion of insider threat came much later when people started to realize, I think insider threat became more prevalent in 2018 or so. So so those of you who answered, you know, ransomware, the 39% of the entire audience, kudos, thank you very much, you are spot on. WannaCry came about around this time frame, but what was our response at that particular time frame? You know, we looked at UEBA. You know, we looked at, you know, the risk score of every individual. You know, we also look at DLP or advanced DLP. You know, of looking at data protection and so on and so forth. You know, so basically we started to focus still in the areas of port 80 and port 443, but not port 53. And that's why this became red, and this became a real bloodbath. And if you look back from present day to the past, the amount of news that have come up in terms of ransomware, in terms of data exfiltration. In fact, there's an ongoing count in terms of the total number of information that's been breached that's now available in the marketplace. So when you look at the kill chain, right, the before, during, and after, right, these are all the different places that DNS actually, you know, stays in, whereby they will be looking at doing reconnaissance, but in the delivery, how do they infiltrate into the organization, the different kinds of techniques, the different kinds of strategies for infiltration, and also to look at how do they disrupt your business, how do they send in an exploit, how do they hijack and do C2 communication? And that's what ransomware is all about. It's all about C2 communication. And again, how do they do tunneling to do data exfiltration? Very simple analogy of exactly where and how does DNS actually play in your segment. When I said that DNS is the way in and out of the organization, these are the different kinds of attacks that DNS can infiltrate, hijack, cache poisoning, tunneling, flooding, amplification attack for DDoS attack, and also sending in, you know, DNS exploits into your system to attack your DNS software. And then on the exfiltration side is all about data theft. Everything is all about data theft. And then also communication, using the DNS channel for communication to drive those agendas across, and also to look at reconnaissance and to get instructions. The other thing I also want to point out to you is lookalike domains over here. If you notice the two Ys, and this is of the same font, they are slightly different. And also the rise of DGA, domain generation algorithms, whereby it's a cat and mouse game where they try to hide the malicious domain away from you so that you will not be able to catch them. And on this on this lookalike domain, I want you to take note over here, this letter Y in Arial, this is the same letter Y, but if you notice here, right, it's in a different part of the entire character set. And that's how they can spoof and fool you into clicking onto those domains. So when you think about it, right, when we were in the situation in 2015, we were in a stage whereby we have a robust defense in depth, where every attempted attack by the hacker in coming in on port 43, on port 443 and port 80, they were able to be bounced off by your different kinds of defenses because of your comprehensive defense in depth. What they have done is they huddled together and they looked at port 53 and they said, hey guys, this is unsecured. This is where they use this port to update the security solutions of the latest malware, of the latest signatures, of the latest firmware, and the latest threat signatures to update them. So they started to exploit this, and that's how it started to happen. That's how this started to be exploited for all kinds of malicious activities. There is a 2016 report by Cisco that says 91% of all malware is carried out on the DNS channel, and it is the #1 channel for a lot of command and control malware. But to be honest, it is no fault of the defender, because the different kinds of frameworks and guidance that we get did not talk about the criticality of DNS security until 2021. That's right, guys. Only this year. And if you check TRM, for example, the latest copy in February this year, it's only now that they start talking about how banks need to look at mitigating against those kinds of threats, mitigating DNS hijack, for example, as one of the elements of threats that they need to take into consideration in protecting the different services that the banks actually offers. So what is our value in the light of all of this? So enough talked about the DNS, right? So at Infoblox, we play in 3 broad categories. We have the network, and we actually expand the whole DNS discussion to include 3 main symbiotic components as well: DNS, DHCP, and IPAM. The symbiotic relationship of these 3 elements working together, the data that we gather from that, security. We also looked at security at the DNS level. So when you look at this symbiotic relationship, again, we essentially play in this area, your core foundation of your business. And our solution can be deployed on-premise, in a hybrid scenario, or in a pure play scenario. So on-premise, on cloud, and at the edge. So this is where we play. Okay. So one of the critical and one of the most beneficial conversations I've actually had with many of the clients around this is that, how do we actually help them to drive greater total cost of ownership and reduce their total cost of operation as a result? And we have this solution called Tide, which can also double up as a tip if you don't have one, or if you have one, it becomes a channel in your tip, whereby we will be able to ingest all the different kinds of threat defenses, all the different kinds of, threat intelligence that you have into this platform. And what it does is that it normalizes the information across the different threat intelligence and feeds it back to your entire security stack, the different kinds of IOCs through the different kinds of communication protocol. And at the same time, we also work towards enriching your SOC, your event management, as well as your SOAR to drive greater automation, to drive greater orchestration in your network. So let me quickly illustrate this through a simple example over here. So let's say, for example, one of your machines have been ransomware, one of your PCs have received a ransomware attack and is working remotely, okay? So the first thing this machine will do is that it will attempt to communicate with the host. When that happens in the communication with the host, having DNS security on DNS, we will be able to block that, but having that IPAM, right, we will be able to detect what's that IP address. Now, the value of having this kind of foundational information is that we will then be able to take that foundational information and share that with your next-gen endpoint, your next-gen firewall, and your web gateway, and tell it that any traffic coming from this IP address, please block it. So automatically, you will have that level of engagement and interaction between the DNS foundational information and with the different kinds of solution out there. At the same time, we will work with your network access control and tell it to block this device, prevent any traffic from coming in or leaving this particular machine, even though if it is working from home. Okay, and at the same time, inform ITSM, inform help desk, right, that this machine has been compromised, and to get somebody from help desk to go and repair and fix that machine. Now, all this up to this point about the person actually going in to fix this machine is all done for you automatically, because we all know that in a cyber attack, the most critical time or your ability to respond quickly to an attack minimizes the amount of damage. So if this is not automated, this may have been your maximum damage to your business. But with the level of automation and integration that we drive with your existing security stack, we are able to reduce your reaction time, that maybe this becomes the impact to your business. Okay. So as a result of that, we maintain, relationship with many of the common security vendors out there that allows us to write policies and scripts directly into their applications, that allows us to help you drive this level of automation across your entire security stack. So a couple of key benefits that we are able to help our customers and deliver to our customers is threat containment, very critical. It's all about containing the threat. It's all about mitigating and preventing the spread of it. But more importantly, it's also about harmonizing the security posture, because when I mentioned earlier, when we share the IOCs of the different types of threats, we share it across your entire security solutions, and that allows you to maintain a robust and harmonized security posture across the board. And as a result of that as well, we improve the ROI of your existing security stack, because those that may not have those kinds of insights will also gather those insights. So the insights that you get from a Palo Alto Networks threat intelligence through harmonization, that will be shared with a Fortinet, firewall, or maybe a WatchGuard firewall, for example, just illustratively speaking. Okay. So at the end of the day, how do you tell whether you have a problem? So one of the things I do encourage you to take advantage of is that into this group, what we would like to offer you is a complimentary security assessment for you to get a better understanding of what's going on in your environment. And what this will do is help you uncover whether you have compromised devices communicating with malicious destination, and also whether you have any DNS based exfiltration that's currently taking place. If through this assessment we discover that you have something critical, we will raise a red flag and inform you immediately. This is a passive assessment. We will just read and ingest the information and let you know accordingly. Okay, so Infoblox, we are a leading DNS, or rather a leading DDI service product solution provider in the marketplace, offering core solutions for your core networking services, cybersecurity, and security at the edge. The three main areas that I've shared with you. Okay, most of the Fortune 1000 and Fortune 1000 and Forbes 2000 companies are using our solution across these different industries. So if you can relate with any of these industries, and you would like to have a more detailed discussion in terms of how we have helped some of our customers in these different areas, please feel free to get in touch with us to arrange for a separate discussion. So a quick recap of what I've just described before I hand over to back to the MC, right? So you need to secure your transformation process and all the different kinds of asset that is associated with this. Now, the DNS is everywhere. It's a footprint that's currently, in your network. Use it, milk it, use the information to the max. Okay, you need to drive unified visibility if you want to drive greater control and automation and better management and security across your entire environment. We can help you to minimize disruption and at the same time prevent data exfiltration or malware infiltration while maintaining your core value to your customers, right? And we are not a rip and replace. We can co-federate with some of your different information. For me to go into that, it will take me some time. Like I say, this is a very short presentation, right? But do consider our assessment and also invite us for a very highly contextualized discussion about how we can help you with your business. And with that, I'd like to hand it back to Sasha.
Thank you, Alvin, for delivering sharing your presentation. I would like to, remind everybody to, type in your questions. Feel free to comment it in the Q&A box should you have any. Next, I would like to invite Max to demonstrate to us how their solution can prevent data exfiltration over the DNS traffic.
Thanks, Sasha. Hi, everyone. My name is Max. I'm a solution architect with Infoblox. Just give me a minute to share my screen. Right. Okay. I will take you through the technical demo of the presentation. right, I'll be running a live DNS data exfiltration attack. So before I go into that, let me briefly just walk through what exactly a data exfiltration attack using DNS, what does that involve? So you can see on this diagram, right, this is how the attack goes. Actually, what the attacker does, first of all, he sets up an authoritative name server, right, of a particular domain. Right? So in this example, it's thief.com, right? So the next step, right, there will be an infected endpoint in the customer's premises with access to some confidential data, right? So for example, credit card information. And he wants to actually get this information out somehow, right? So one of the very common ways that attackers do these days, right, is using DNS, right? As Alvin has mentioned earlier in his presentation, right? DNS is very often overlooked, right, by security professionals in many enterprises. So it's getting very, very common that attackers actually use the DNS as a back channel to actually exfiltrate data, right? So the infected client, right, what it does is it actually encodes the confidential data, right, into DNS requests, right? You can see all this hexadecimal string is appended to the domain name. So the client sends out all these encoded material, right, out through the corporate DNS servers. And then the corporate DNS servers will just forward out to the authoritative name server of this thief.com, right? So the attacker, right, who's controlling this server, he will actually gather all of these bits and pieces and chunks of data that's sent out, and he's able to piece back together, right, and reconstruct the original data, right? So this is how a DNS exfiltration that can actually happen, right, through the DNS infrastructure of the enterprise, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'll be using this demo portal. This is our Infoblox data exfiltration portal that we show to our customers, right? So as part of this demo, I'll be trying to exfiltrate this particular piece of graphic, right, to simulate some confidential data, right? In this example, it's KFC's secret recipe, right? Apologies in advance to any KFC staff members in the audience, right? So I will use this technique, right, to actually exfiltrate data out to my demo portal. Okay, so once that's done, you'll see the file actually appear here. Okay, so with this demo tool, right, I will just select the file that I want to steal. Right, so okay, I'll select this file. Okay, and I will generate a script. Okay, so this tool allows a script for different kinds of CLI. So I'll be using the Windows PowerShell script. Okay, so this is pre-generated for me on this portal. I'll open up my PowerShell window. Okay, and I'll just paste the script. All right. So I'll just run the tool. Okay, so what you can see here, right? My confidential data, right, is encoded into DNS queries, right? It's sending out to this domain called Whitetree Collective. Okay, so Whitetree Collective is of course managed by Infoblox, and you will see, right, I'm starting to receive, right, the data. Okay, so it's 47 packets out of 718 packets, right? So as this demo is running, let me take you through a real life case study. Okay, lest you think that this is just in theory and nobody is using this attack, right? So this is a real life case study, right, of an attacker using DNS exfiltration, right, to steal payment card data from a POS system, right? So what are the key takeaways, right, for this particular attack, right? As what we've always been highlighting, right? DNS is always left open, commonly goes unmonitored, right? So attackers use this as a good way to actually evade detection. So what happens is this particular this particular attack, right? Alina POS malware, they use DNS, right? Convert as an outbound communication channel to actually export this data out. Okay, so this is a real life example, and how Infoblox stops such attacks, right? Let me go back to this diagram again. So we are DDI platform, right? So meaning we are able to run as a DNS server for the organization. So how we stop such attacks, right, is we can actually deploy like an Infoblox DNS server that will serve as basically reply to all DNS queries in your environment. And what is different about our DNS server is we have DNS security features built into our solution. So on top of answering DNS requests, right, we are able to inspect all incoming DNS queries, right, and look for malicious traffic, right? And how we actually do that? There are actually three ways we do it. First of all, is using signature based. So you can think of it like IPS type of signatures, right? We look for telltale signs of well-known attack tools, right, using DNS. So that's the first way we are able to detect such attacks, right? The second way is using threat feeds, right? Threat feeds are basically like blacklists, right? We blacklist all the known malicious domains out there in the internet. And any of your endpoints querying for such domains, right, we are able to either log or we can totally block it entirely, right? And the third way, right, this is something that our many of competitors they don't have this capability, is what we call Threat Insight. Threat Insight is our machine learning based algorithm, right, that actually detects zero-day data exfiltration type of attacks, right? Because no, not every attack will actually fall neatly in threat feeds and signatures, right? And we use machine learning, right, to actually analyze the behavior of outgoing DNS queries. So if they match DNS exfiltration or infiltration type of behavior, right, we can actually block those attacks as well. Okay, so this is how, right, using a DNS, a secure DNS solution, we are able to stop security gaps, right, that use DNS as part of their attack tools. Okay, right. So you can see that now my attack has actually completed. Right, we'll go back to our transferred file. Okay, and we can open the file from our web browser. Okay, so we can see that we have actually managed to reconstruct the original data that was sent out using DNS. Okay, so this is just one of the ways, right, that attackers leverage DNS to actually launch attacks, right? I hope hopefully that I managed to show the value of by having a DNS security solution in your network. That will be closing the gap, right? Thanks. That's all for my presentation. Back to you, Sasha.
Thank you, Matt. So now it's time for all of us to raise your burning questions to our panelists. So please drop your questions in the Q&A box for us to have an engaging and insightful discussion ahead.
Hi, great. Thank you, Alvin and Max. I think it's a very wonderful sharing to all our members here. I believe that these securities come with a very wide spectrum, right? Even just a small DNS type of protocol or network, right? Able to cause so much threat, to the whole organization of people. So maybe I just want to pull out. There's a lot of questions. I think it's great that you're engaging with the audience. Maybe I just want to read out the first questions, right? Even people working from home, everybody's getting around, using a lot of Microsoft products, right? So can this protect Microsoft 360, and how to protect it? Maybe address even Max or Alvin. You can just share the answer if you could.
Max, do you want to take the technical aspect of this question?
Sure. Okay. I hope I'm understanding the question correctly. By protecting Microsoft 365. I'm assuming that this particular person is maybe working from home, so that's accessing Microsoft 365 remotely, right? Yeah. So what our solution can actually do, right, to protect remote workers, right? We have an endpoint solution, right, that can be installed on corporate devices like Windows laptop, Mac OS, and all that, right, to actually forward DNS queries to our threat defense cloud, right? So whatever security policies, right, the DNS security policies that you configure for your on-prem network, right, these can be extended to cover remote workers as well. So yeah, this is how we actually address right to extend protection to actually cover users who are not even connected to your corporate network. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Good, Max. I think just related to the first question just now, I think the audience is asking, right? Maybe I just posed quite similar. And how does DNS attack look like for staff working outside of the office network? I believe they want to access some internal network, they have some VPN or go through a firewall, right? Probably this is the angle that you may want to answer the questions. And how does DNS attack look like for staff working outside office network?
Right. Actually, there's no one type of DNS attacks, right? Because DNS has been around. The DNS protocol has been around for many years, right? 40 over years, and it was never designed with security in mind, right? So there are actually a lot of different types of DNS attacks that are possible, from DNS exfiltration, right, to the DNS amplification attacks, DDoS attacks using DNS. So it comes in all different shapes and sizes, right? And what we are trying to do for the endpoint solution, right? We try to actually, because we are forwarding all these requests to the cloud, right? Our cloud analytics capability is able to actually detect and actually stop such attacks. As for your question of connecting back to the VPN back to the corporate network, right? I think that is very common in traditional networks, right? People VPN back to their network to actually use their corporate resources. But what we increasingly see these days, right? With the adoption of SaaS, with the adoption of cloud, right? There's actually less and less traffic going to the corporate on-premise corporate resources, right? So people are accessing more and more on the cloud, and as such, people tend to be less connected to their corporate VPN, right? So our solution actually closes that gap, right? You don't even need to connect back to your corporate VPN to your on-premise network to actually receive the same DNS security that you enjoy on the on-premise network.
Okay, I'd like to add one more thing as well. I mean, we help end users to avoid accidentally visiting malicious website, and especially newly observed domains, because in our threat intelligence, we have this thing, this threat intel that tells us when certain domains are newly formed and newly used, and those could be domains that are looking at credential theft or phishing campaigns that would drive the end user who do not know to those kinds of domains. And what we do is that when we see this kind of stuff, we raise that white flag and we are able to prevent the user from accidentally going there. And another way that we also help organizations with this is because we maintain visibility across the entire environment in the organization, right? We're able to identify shadow IT actually taking place. So that's another way that we can look at, preventing such attacks from coming through as well. DNS over HTTPS and DNS over TLS, those are another areas as well that we look at to make sure that those kinds of communication, we do not want them to be encrypted, because when they are encrypted, right, we have no visibility over them. And this is where we try to provide that level of visibility of exactly what's happening through these kinds of communication that end users try to mask, so that either for some reason or other, either for protection or even to detect malicious activities that could be happening. So these are just some of the simple ways that we, or not, maybe they're not so simple, but some of the ways that we actually help to prevent end user from falling prey or from falling victim and becoming a conduit of infiltration through their devices into the organization.
Yeah, great. I think Max and Alvin, I think you just addressed the good point on this area. In fact, that risk, I mean, the government or this Singapore side, right, is encouraging, especially to the SME. We have nearly about 250,000 SME companies going for digitization and transformation.
Exactly.
On cloud, is very important for them to spearhead or even the rapid migration to cloud or application that using SaaS model, whatever model that you bring to the fastest to the market, right? And in fact, this DNS, definitely to protect the DNS is very crucial. I think thanks for this answer, how we're going to protect ourselves. But I think just now Max is, I like the chicken recipe, right? I also have this banana cake recipe, so worry. But just link back, how do you protect source code leak? Is it DNS is also one of a lot of reports or incidents happens that source code will leak through these DNS?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, information can be stolen in many ways, right? Through HTTPS, through FTP, even through like people taking picture and just WhatsApp out, right? So what we are trying to do, because Infoblox, we are focused on DNS security, right? So what we address is actually data exfiltration using DNS, right? That's our I would say our greatest strength, because for us at Infoblox, right, we have been in the DDI space for like 20 over years, right? We live and breathe DNS, in other words. So we are actually in a very good position, right, to actually recognize and identify many DNS threats and actually stop such attacks before they happen.
Just to add to what Max have actually said, right, the other critical thing to take note is that we actually protect any data. So whether it's unstructured or structured data. So if you are in the entertainment or music industry, we can prevent your MOV, your MP4 files from being extracted, for example. If you are in a highly sensitive, aerial photography industry, doing aerial reconnaissance and stuff like, we can prevent unstructured data like photographs from going out. So it's not just structured data in spreadsheets and sensitive personal identifiable information. It's any information that you deem as sensitive based on your industry and based on your focus areas. We can prevent that or minimize your risk exposure of that being exfiltrated.
Cool. Yep. And maybe Alvin, right? During your presentation, everybody's focused on what you're speaking, right? And there's one of the audience called EDS was sharing, saying that, thank you for your presentation, and then definitely welcome. This is what we meant for. And just could you quickly just explain again the key difference between the infiltration and exfiltration? Okay, so I'm going to share screen just to talk this through. So in the light of this, right, what happens over here, right, when I talk about DNS exfiltration, what happens over here is that if you have ransomware over here with a C2 communication, the first thing that will happen is that they'll use a DNS channel to do that communication. But as they are doing that, there's nothing to prevent them from doing data exfiltration through SQL queries, whereby they could be having SQL queries, encrypted SQL queries, where they are embedding sensitive companies' information in the DNS channel into the host domain. And that's how exfiltration actually takes place. Infiltration, on the other hand, is about sending in, if the defense in depth doesn't work over here, is to look at how do they send in malware through the DNS channel to infiltrate, like in the same way that a company will send threat signature updates to your security solution. Because remember, this platform here is unguarded. There is no security there. There is nothing monitoring that. It's a very noisy and a very busy channel. So that's how exfiltration takes place. So that's how infiltration and exfiltration takes place. And that's why this is now the fourth channel in and out of the organization.
Yeah. Let me just add to Alvin's answer. So basically, the purpose of exfiltration, DNS exfiltration, right, is people want to steal data, right?
Correct.
They want to get data out of the organization. Infiltration is actually commonly used to actually bring in malware into the enterprise network, right? So it's basically like the reverse of DNS exfiltration, right? Instead of breaking the data into chunks and sending it out, the DNS server actually stores all the malware, the payload, right? And it is actually downloaded in chunks through DNS. So once it's downloaded into the enterprise network, right, it's assembled and then it can be executed on the compromised client, right? So that's how malware can be brought inside your network, bypassing your firewalls, bypassing your IPS, and actually and start wreaking havoc, basically. So that's the difference between infiltration and exfiltration.
And the reason why they are exploiting this is because you already have a defense in depth here, right? You're on heightened alert when they try sending a spam email or when they try to send you to a watering hole, right? So they, in every shape and form, try another channel to get in.
Yeah, Ravi, I think thanks for the differences, right? So the audience is able to understand and pick up. what is left out. But as what this most question is talking about, some attack and Microsoft and source code whether be leaked, right? Is it this? I just want to consolidate some of the questions here. Is email phishing related to DNS attack? Because with a vast audience here with different expertise here, maybe I just want to sound out. Is email phishing is related to DNS attack?
Okay, basically how phishing typically works, right? The victim, right, or the would-be victim receives an email that says, oh, you want some lucky draw or whatever, right? Click on this link to go and claim your prize, right? So that's where DNS can come in, right? If that link, right, actually goes to a known malicious phishing site, for example, right? So the info blocks can actually block the DNS request for that particular domain. So that's how a secure DNS solution can actually help to stop such phishing attacks.
So remember just now I talked about newly observed domains. Most likely this host over here is a newly observed domains to capture credentials. So yes, like while you may have your email security and your data security that looks at preventing this phishing email from coming in, sometimes they are so sophisticated that users are not aware that they click on it. So when they click on the link, we can actually look at to see whether it's going to a newly observed domain, and if it's going to that, we can actually prevent that from happening. Yep. And same goes for the case of accidentally going to a malicious website as well.
Okay, is there, just hang on to this email thing, right? Is there any advice or any best practices, right? Once we have this security for DNS implemented, any advice or best practices once we have the security for DNS implemented?
Yes, and it's a very important thing to take note. Let's say you have a very good DNS security solution in place. Okay, wow, seriously, everything in place, right? Don't let your users go to public resolvers like Google 8.8.8.8, or Cloudflare 1.1.1.1, or use DOH or use DOT, right? Because all these different tools, right, they actually bypass your external your DNS security solution, right? So step one, go and deploy a DNS security solution. Step two, block all traffic to public resolvers, right? Because those are again, those are non-secured, right? Those are just blindly answering DNS queries. They don't care whether it's malicious or not, right? So the whole point of having a DNS security solution is to actually not have those kind of services running. So that is the important next step to actually have once you have actually deployed a DNS security solution.
That's right. You have to block all requests into your authoritative servers.
Okay. So this is a must, right? To say that. And
or else it defeats the purpose, right? You deploy something, right? It's like you deploy a firewall, then you have a backdoor out of your network, right? Why would you do that?
Okay, then I just quickly want to sum up my thoughts, right, on one area, right? You're coming to this, yes, it's important, and then we want to move ahead to use it. But is this the final gap in the defense in that strategy?
To say that it's the final will be very difficult to. I can't confirm that. But at this point in time, I mean, it's just like if you go back to the four points over here, the four entries and exit points over here, right? Where is it? Okay, when you come back to this, right? Email security or the entry from email came about when we started using email. And when websites were just 1.0, where we're just showcases for company information, there's no interaction. Websites were not a main point of entry. We did not collect information. There was no brute force attack. There was no SQL attack. But when we came Internet 2.0, 3.0, when there's social media interactivity and everything, the website became another conduit to get into the organization, to steal information, to send people to watering holes to get their credentials and so on and so forth. So it's an evolution of the state of the way things are. And when these two really start to buckle up and everything, when we think about the different kinds of threat actors out there, a new threat actor then subsequently got introduced, and that is the insider threat. Accidental as well as malicious, because now we're starting to work remotely. Although it was in small quantities, we work remotely, and then there were people who had access, had authority, but were easily tempted away because of some circumstances. They became malicious insider as well for an organization, because of the way that it's been structured. Because as we beef this up, they find another way in. And then now that we are starting to beef this up with, with the ability to look at the risk score of the individual behavior online, looking at his movement and so on and so forth, to attach a score to him, to then look at automate dynamic credential setting and access right management to this group of people. Then we now have the DNS channel. Now the DNS has been exposed or been realized to be, the crown, not crown jewel, the way of getting into the organization in 2017. But our mindset at that point in time was to look at DLP, more security of the data. At that point in time, we focused more on that, but did not focus on DNS. It was only recently that we started to realize that this is the major area that they could actually exploit, that we started to look at that. So who knows what the next phase can be? Because right now we're thinking about those touch and go, for example. Your devices, your handphones can also be stolen when somebody touch on it. So it could be peer-to-peer attack after this. I don't know. That may be the next line of attack, for example. But at this point in time, based on what we see, these are the four main ways.
Okay. I think because of time, right, we can just take the last question. We got about 20 over outstanding questions.
Yes, we do.
But I think this is a very important question, because getting to know, I want to protect myself, and then I just want to understand to get the budget approved. When I get a budget approved, I need to get some ROI ready to explain to my bosses, right? Can you elaborate a little bit more about improving the overall ROI of the existing security stack?
Sure. So for that, right, let me just go to.
We have 1 more minute to go. Sorry.
1 minute. Wow, that's a tall order. Okay, so remember I talked about this slide just now, right? So when I talked about improving the overall ROI or managing the ROI of your existing security stack, this area over here is all your existing security stack. So what any security device is dependent on is the threat intelligence that they receive to tell them what are the indication of compromise, what are the things they need to pay attention to, right? But if you manage numerous different types of security solutions, you are dependent on different kinds of threat feeds. What we do is that through our Tide solution, right, our Tide platform, and through the different protocol, right, we are able to ingest all the different threat feeds together with ours to then feed to all your entire security devices out here, either by means of policies or by means of ability to recognize certain kinds of malignant or malicious behavior, to then be able to detect and even prevent those from happening. Hence, instead of being in a situation whereby this part of your security is a brick fence, this part of your security is a is a brick wall, this part of your security is a chicken coop wire fence, we start to harmonize all of that across. And I spoke to some customers about capital recycling, where there's overlap, for example, whereby they are paying 2 or 3 repeated threat feeds for different devices. They can then look at decommissioning those threat feeds for those devices and just using Tide as a default platform to help them manage this distribution. And it also drives greater automation through the SIEM solution and greater orchestration through their source solution as well, depending on their playbook. And that automation is effectively helps them to drive better threat containment, and the overall posture helps them to breathe new life into their existing security solution that allows them to maximize their return on investment.
Okay, great, Alvin. Thank you very much. And then we have the 22 questions not being answered. Max and Alvin, you might not just post your email address in the sharing chat box to all audience, so the audience can really write in. I think those questions are very important, and also it's very meaningful to what their perspective is. So please share these email addresses so that the audience can really write to you, and you can answer, your time permit. So just before I closing, I want to pass these for any last messages from Alvin and Max. A quick one.
Max, you want to go first?
Yeah, actually, I have not much to say, but I'm actually quite encouraged by the number of questions that are actually posted in the Q&A. I wish we had time to actually go through each and every one of them. Yeah, as what Dash has mentioned, please do write me. Right, I've actually posted my email in the chat box. I'd love to have a follow-up conversation with each and every one of you.
Yeah. The
Alvin?
the only thing I'll say is that because I spent a lot of time talking to executives in your organization, they all recognize that the network is actually a critical part of the way that you run your business. So your network is now your business, and DNS being that foundation in your network, and you are already currently using DNS in some shape and form, with other kinds of services. Why not look at, explore how to really exploit all the information that you have to drive greater value to your security strategy for your business? That's the only thing I'll say to you, because right now, the DNS is a platform that hackers are seriously exploiting to infiltrate into your organization. Even somebody like Accenture, was compromised, less than 2 weeks ago. Right? Accenture, which is another security consulting company, was compromised through a ransomware attack. And we all know that they are probably using DNS as the platform to do their C2 communication, and who knows whatever information they have been extracted already.
Great, thanks Max and Alvin. Before I just want to pass it over to Shasha. Audience, thank you very much for your time to join on this webinar, and do stay safe and be healthy. Thank you, audience. And then Shasha, pass back to you.
So we have now come to the end of the webinar, and I would like to thank all our panelists for the insightful sharing this afternoon. We'd appreciate if you could scan the QR code shown on the screen to give us your feedback for today's session. For those who have participated in the polls, we will be sharing your contact details with InfoBlocks, as we assume that you have given your consent for InfoBlocks to reach out to you after this webinar. So thank you, and we hope to see you at our next event.